Hey guys, welcome back to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing all of the new Aura heroes. So for those of you who don't know, Aura is the new damage type added in Season 3 for the Radiance element. Before I get into that though, just want to say a huge thank you to Dragonheir Silent Gods for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel. If you are interested in giving Dragonheir a go, please do click the link in my description or the pinned comment and get involved today. So Season 3 is right around the corner now. We've only got just over a day to go. It does release early in the morning on Friday and my time, so UK time. But for those of you who aren't at the point where you're starting Season 3, this video should help you to get a bit of an insight into the third damage dealing type being added to the season. So with Aura, just the same as the other types, Shadow and Corrosion, there are 3 legendaries being added, 3 epics, and with Aura there's only 1 rare being added. So before I go into each of these skills, I just want to run through how Aura actually works. So if we look here, these heroes use Aura energy in combat. They gain Aura energy after casting skills, and they enter a blaze state after accumulating enough Aura energy. They no longer gain Aura energy during this period, while some of their skills consume Aura energy and get enhanced. When their Aura energy runs out, they will exit the blaze state. So the way I've seen this is blaze state is almost like having a rally buff for a rally damage dealer, whereas instead of consuming that buff, they will just lose the buff when they run out of energy. So effectively, it's kind of a builder-spender kind of system where you're building up your Aura energy, entering that blaze state, and then you're spending that energy before having to redo that again before your next window of high damage. So they're a little bit different. It's something new to kind of wrap your head around. They do still have normal recharge times on their skills, so it's not like Shadow where it's completely based on their energy. It just dictates how much damage they're able to do during these blaze windows. So first of all, I'm going to run through the legendary heroes. So we've got Diantha here. The Diantha has a aura here that increases attack by for all allies by 30% in all battles, so a very strong aura. Her passive skill enters a blaze state when in possession of 100 aura energy. Whenever the hero consumes aura energy, the next basic attack will fire an orb that bounces up to 4 times between enemies, dealing 100% attack radiant damage each time. The number of orbs fired can be accumulated. Next up, we've got the battle skill, Caution of the Forest. So this skill grants 10 aura energy to all aura allies and deals 250% attack radiant damage to enemies within range. While in blaze state, it consumes 5 aura energy to deal an additional 5% target's max HP radiant damage, which can be no more than 250% of the hero's attack to enemies within range. Next up, the ultimate skill deals 400% attack and 8% target's max HP radiant damage to enemies within range, with a 75% chance of inflicting full bloom to them for 10 seconds. That's a debuff that increases the damage taken from aura heroes by 20%. Then generates a domain for 10 seconds in the blaze state, during which the aura energy consumed by allies will be returned at the cost, depleting 10 aura energy of the hero instead. Also gains 35 aura energy if not in the blaze state. So Diantha overall is kind of the enabler of the aura damage types. If you look at comparing her to Lorenthal for rally, she's all about bringing the aura energy up for the rest of the team to get them into blaze state more often, and also increasing the damage they deal by 20% on her ultimate skill. So she is incredibly strong and is almost kind of a necessary hero to really take your aura to the next level. However, how high that level is yet to be seen. Aura has been a little bit shaky throughout the testing I've done, and I know a lot of other people do feel the same, that it's a little bit underwhelming, but I will go into that a little bit more at the end of the video. So next up, we've got Linkos. So Linkos also has an attack aura, but 45% in the City of Trials battles, so Pillar of Trials. On his passive skill, he enters blaze state when in possession of 100 aura energy. He gains 50 aura energy as the battle starts, so it's going to help him get into that kind of rotation of getting into blaze state faster. Next up, we've got his battle skill, gains 15 aura energy, it then strikes enemies within range 3 times, with each strike dealing 100% attack radiant damage. While in blaze state, this consumes 5 aura energy to deal an additional 2% target's max HP radiant damage, which can be no more than 100% of the hero's attack to strike enemies with each strike. Finally, on his ultimate skill, Ode to the Misty Sea, deals 400% attack radiant damage to all enemies, grants 35 aura energy to the aura ally with the highest attack in the meantime. If in the blaze state, it summons an accompanist to follow the aura ally with the highest attack. While not in blaze state, gains 35 aura energy. So the accompanist that it summons, when the ally followed by the accompanist launches a basic attack, Linkos consumes 15 aura energy to enable the accompanist to perform a coordinated attack on all enemies around the target, dealing 7% of the target's max HP damage. So this is, once again, almost an enabler I guess in a way. He's not a kind of primary damage dealer himself, but he's going to be dealing a lot of splash damage off of your main damage dealer, which realistically is one of two heroes, which I'll cover in just a second. But yeah, all in all, he is a bit of a unique ability. There's a little bit of a, I don't know, Aura in general doesn't seem to perform great so far, so I'm not sure if maybe it's just underscaled and he will be better later on. Well, whether a game mode will come out where he really does shine, that is yet to be seen. Obviously, I've had limited testing time, but I mean, he's better than a lot of the other heroes, but still not great. Next up, we've got Amon Leda. So this is the exclusive Aura legendary. So she has her own artifact, which I'll show you in just a second. In fact, we'll do that first quickly. So as you can see here, the Silver Pearl Casket, attack and 80% crit damage, increases the additional damage dealt in blaze state by 50% when she casts a skill. So as for her skills, if we start off with her Aura, so she's got 45% crit damage in City of Trials battles. So this is really good for when you're doing Pillar of Trials. It's a lot of damage bonus you're going to be getting from this. On her passive skill, so enters a blaze state when in possession of 100 aura energy, increasing damage done by 30% when in the blaze state. The hero's attacks guarantee crit hits. Gains invincibility for 5 seconds if the hero's current HP is below 30% after taking damage, during which time the hero's attacks are guaranteed critical hits as well. And this effect can only be triggered once every 60 seconds. So because of the way this works, whenever your Amon Leda is in blaze state, you do not need any crit rate. So that means you're going to be building her with full attack, full crit damage. So the amount of stats you'll be able to get is absolutely insane. Obviously, it just means that she's able to do a huge amount of damage, and you want to make sure she's staying in that blaze state as frequently as possible. So having heroes who will help to boost the aura energy of her is going to be so important. For example, Diantha obviously boosting everybody, and heroes like that around Amon Leda is just going to take her damage to the next level. And next up on her battle skill, so Glitter of Gold, gains 15 aura energy, deals 380% attack radiant damage to enemies within range, centered on the current target, and gains 10% HP, 10% target's max HP shield for 5 seconds in the meantime. Each enemy hit by this skill grants an additional 20% shield strength, and while in the blaze state, consumes 5 aura energy to deal an additional 6% target's max HP radiant damage, which can be no more than 200% of her attack to enemies within range. Next up, we've got her ultimate skill, so Dazzling Kiss. Deals 500% attack radiant damage to enemies within range, consumes 20 aura energy to strike enemies within range 2 additional times in the blaze state, with each strike dealing 10% target's max HP radiant damage, then gains 30 aura energy if not in the blaze state. So she is an all-out damage dealer. Like I said, you want to build her with full attack and full crit damage. She can do some good damage, but it's not the greatest, especially when you compare Aura to the other two damage types that have come into the game. It just feels underwhelming. It doesn't feel like there's a huge place in the game. Obviously, the exclusive is a melee, which makes it a little bit more awkward because there's so many different areas of the game where melee get hit significantly harder than range, hit by AoE abilities from targets, and it just makes them quite hard to keep alive outside of areas like Vortex, for example. But Aura really just doesn't perform in Vortex to the level that some of the other top tier things like Wild, for example, or Ice Blast, or Dauntless, for example. There's so many better things to use in Vortex that it just really doesn't compete at all. So onto the epics, we've got Narzilla first of all. So Narzilla has an 24% attack for all allies in all battles aura, which is really nice to have on an epic. Passive skill enters a blaze state when in possession of 100 energy, increasing the hero's attack by 5% for each buff they have up to 20 times. This is a bit of a strange one because you're never going to get 20 buffs, and this doesn't stack. It is scalable to the amount of buffs you have active. So I don't know why they've put it up to 20 stacks, because I don't think there's even 20 unique buffs in the game that you can bring. I may be wrong there, I've not counted. But I've certainly never seen any of my heroes with anywhere near 20 buffs. So yeah, that's a little bit of a strange one, but you'll get some extra attack for all the buffs you do have in your team. Next up, we've got the battle skill. Gains 15 aura energy, dealing 200% attack and 4% targets max HP radiant damage to the enemy. Consumes 5 aura energy to extend the duration of all of the hero's buffs by 3% at 3 seconds while in blaze state. Finally, we've got her ultimate skill. Gains crit damage up for 10 seconds, deals 120% attack radiant damage to an enemy. In the next 8 seconds, whenever an aura ally attacks, this hero will assist their attack once to deal 2.4% targets max HP radiant damage, and this effect can only be triggered once every 2 seconds. While in the blaze state, it consumes 5 aura energy to launch another coordinated attack when launching a coordinated attack, so doubling the amount of hits she's doing, and then gains 30 aura energy if the hero is not in a blaze state when this skill is used. Next up, we've got Kareth. So Kareth is the next epic that we're going to be looking at, with a crit damage aura for all allies in the City of Trials by 30%. On her passive skill, enters a blaze state when in possession of 100 aura energy. Grants ultimate skill damage bonus for 20 seconds to an aura ally whenever they enter blaze state. This is really good. It's a 40% ultimate skill damage boost buff that you can give to all of your aura allies whenever they enter blaze state. So this can kind of help to enable your other damage dealers. On her battle skill, she gains 10 aura energy, dealing 300% attack radiant damage to enemies within range. And then on her ultimate skill, deals 500% attack and 7% targets max HP radiant damage to enemies within range. Consumes 25 aura energy in the blaze state to grant 20% attack up for 10 seconds to all aura allies, and gains 50 aura energy if not in blaze state. So once again, this enables your other aura damage dealers with that attack up buff. Obviously, it has now been removed from gear sets in Season 3, so having heroes who can still bring that buff is really important to make sure you're pushing your damage. So if you don't have kind of I don't really know what are the meta options for Aura at the moment, if there even is a meta option. But if you're lacking some enablers, having somebody like Kareth come into your team to bring you that extra damage buff could be really important. And obviously, as well as that, you're gaining the ultimate skill damage buff as well from her. Next up, we've got a familiar face who we encountered Mecha Talk with in Season 2. So, is it Theohine, the Mecha Mechanic? So this is another epic who is probably the best epic so far that I've seen for the auras. So an attack aura in all battles with, sorry, not in all battles, Grand Gladiator Arena battles by 30%. Passive skill, enters a blaze state when in possession of 100 aura energy, increasing the hero's attack permanently by 5% when they consume aura energy up to 10 times. So eventually you're going to get a 50% attack buff on her. Next up on the battle skill, gains 15 aura energy, then strikes enemies within range 3 times, with each strike dealing 80% attack radiant damage. While in a blaze state, it consumes 5 aura energy to deal an additional 1% targets max HP radiant damage, which could be no more than 30% of the hero's attack to enemies with each strike. Next up, we've got the ultimate skill. So strikes an enemy within range, dealing 620% attack radiant damage, consumes 20% aura energy and ignores 30% of the enemy's defense in a blaze state, gains 30 aura energy if not in blaze state. So from the testing I've done and from the testing I've seen others do as well, Theohine is very comparable to the exclusive legendaries damage. They are very close together, as little as 10% apart, almost like how Girthin was with Beldel pre-legendary, pre-exclusive artifact. However, this seems to translate just in general. Theohine does a huge amount of damage and really does keep up. So if you aren't lucky enough, I say lucky, I'm not sure if it is lucky to pull aura heroes, but if you don't happen to get your hands on the exclusive legendary, Theohine is likely to be your main damage dealer if you were to build an aura team. Next up, we've got the rare Cycle. So this is the last of the damage type. So we've got a attack aura here in dungeon battles by 24%, which is quite strong for a rare. We've got a passive skill that enters when entering blaze state. Enters blaze state when in possession of 100 energy and gains 50 aura energy as the battle starts. Then a battle skill here that gains 10 aura energy, dealing 340% attack radiant damage to enemies within range. And the ultimate skill strikes enemies within range 2 times, with each strike dealing 400% attack radiant damage. Consumes 20 aura energy and ignores 25% of the enemy's defense in blaze state, and gains 30 aura energy if not in a blaze state. I've not tested this rare yet, but on paper looks like it could do quite a good amount of damage for a rare. Definitely one I'm going to play around with in the next few days once I try and find somewhere valuable for aura. It's really quite underwhelming at the moment. I feel like they've been really clever to add in all of these max HP mechanics, but the damage they do just isn't there. I know a lot of people have kind of had the same feedback that it's just not doing enough. Even against bosses where you'd expect the max HP to be kind of capping out at what it's meant to do. Obviously, I know it can't exceed your certain percentages of your attack, but it just doesn't seem to do enough. If you look, obviously I'm running some clips here and it's all well and good. It looks like you're clearing the content nicely with aura, but compared to the other damage types, and especially the other damage types in Season 3, they're just not bringing enough to be different. And I don't currently see a place where you choose to use aura over any of the existing Season 2 or Season 1 damage types. I really hope I'm wrong with that, and I really hope that they do kind of shine towards even if it's towards the end of the season, similar to how Lightning Bolt did on the last boss. It really started to pump some real damage if you had the right heroes. But that remains to be seen at the moment. I would love to see some tweaks and adjustments to them before this goes live on Friday. I know there is some changes coming to Rook, the Corrosion Legendary, which I did a video on a couple of days ago. That is much needed. It's absolutely busted how strong it is. And realistically couldn't go live in the game how it was. I'm not sure how it actually made it to the test server in that state either. But these things do kind of slip through the cracks. But yeah, all in all, I'm not very excited for aura. Whereas I am the other two types. If I only pull aura legendaries, I won't be very impressed. But yeah, in general though, I'm sure they will find a place. I'm sure they will be more than usable. It's just a case of finding that perfect place for them. So that is all for the aura type, the aura damage dealers. So I am going to leave the video here. I do want to say a huge thank you to Dragonheir Silent Gods once again for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel. Please do remember to hit that link in the description or the pinned comment if you'd like to get involved. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end the video by rolling out some of the footage of my testing of aura. But thank you very much guys for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.